Hey there and welcome back to NBA 2K18's My League mode. My name is Pete and today we complete episode 40 of our NBA 2K18 My League expansion series with the Louisville Legionnaires. In the last episode we completed the All-Star weekend and the month of February. In today's episode we are already in the middle of March and ready for the final stretch of the season. The Legionnaires' position in the league has been unchanged for the last few weeks. They are still, somewhat surprisingly, holding down the third seed in the Eastern Conference, and with only 18 games left to play in the season, a Legionnaires playoff appearance becomes more and more likely. So I would say enough with the talking, let's start with the first game. We are staying at home in Louisville for this one, as we host the Dallas Mavericks. With a 27-35 record, the Mavericks currently hold down the 11th seed in the Western Conference, and I don't really think they will be a playoff team this year. However, they have improved quite a bit from last season where they actually earned the first overall pick, and that first overall pick, Grant McLeod, has already replaced Dennis Smith Jr. as the starting point guard. This is certainly an interesting development that we should keep an eye on. Maybe the Mavericks decide to play one of them at shooting guard, or they might even opt to test the trade market. Another quick look at the Mavericks roster here with an injury. Starting small forward Harrison Barnes is still out with a spinal injury that he suffered quite a long time ago. His return timetable of 6 to 8 weeks has him doubtful for the rest of the season. Nonetheless, the Mavericks have signed the 27-year-old to a big 4-year extension on a contract worth slightly over $100 million. I just thought I'd give you a bit of a look around the league in this case. The Mavericks are definitely a team in a very interesting situation. Our game against them then started off pretty strong for us. Rodney Hood had a very strong first quarter, scoring 12 points there already, but over the course of the remaining 3 quarters the game remained fairly close. The Legionnaires shot very poorly from deep and made only 4 triples, and in the end it was the free throw shooting that saved them here. Their aggressive play led to 32 attempts at the line, they made 29 of those and secured themselves a 7-point victory. The man of the match, then someone that hasn't been up here for a while. Bryce Johnson led all scorers with an impressive double-double tonight, 25 points and 11 rebounds, also adding 3 assists and 2 steals. Josh Richardson follows close behind with 24 points, including 8 of 9 from the free throw line, and Rodney Hood regressed a bit after a strong first quarter. Still, he was able to finish with an impressive 7 of 11 shooting performance for 20 points. Andre Flanders then added 16 points in 23 minutes, Skylar Bissiere had 15 and 5 rebounds, Mohamed Bamba almost back to his usual self with a 10-point 13-rebound double-double, and Tyler Ulis led the team in assists with 7, and impressively enough, he also accumulated 3 offensive rebounds. So 1 game down, let's move on to the next one. But before we do, one more thing because I'm seeing it displayed right here. Kay Felder has for some reason jumped up to an 82 overall after being signed by the Denver Nuggets for the rest of the season. The Nuggets had quite a few injury problems at the guard, so the signing makes sense here, but I'm also 90% sure that Felder was about a 70 or 71 overall player at the beginning of the season, so I'm not quite sure where a more than 10-point jump came from. By the way, I don't know if you remember it, Felder was also part of the Legionnaires 2 seasons ago, but after being cut from the team he remained a free agent for the entirety of the last season. Now he's back for the Nuggets, averaging about 10 points and 7 assists and good efficiency in roughly 30 minutes per game. Now, I don't know, maybe he had a stint in the G League and that had something to do with it. Be that as it may, the league has just gained another young, promising point guard. Now, onto the matchup at hand, we're playing the Indiana Pacers next, who despite a very good roster around superstar Kevin Durant are only the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference at the moment. Looking at the East, we can also see that the Cleveland Cavaliers are the first team in the league to have clinched a playoff spot, despite having 16 games still left to play. In our game against the Pacers then, the free throws were once again a big factor. Just like last game, the Legionnaires had a ton of attempts from the line, and they finished making 28 of their 30 tries. However, unlike in the last game, they also shot the ball much better and out-rebounded their opponents, and all that together resulted in a well-deserved 8-point victory. The top scorer of the night, sharpshooting rookie Mitch Dennis, who played just 15 minutes off the bench but was good enough for 18 points. His rookie partner in crime, Andre Flanders, then finished with 17. Richardson had 14, although he shot horribly and 10 of those points came from the free throw line. And Mohamed Bamba finished with another double-double, 14 points and 12 rebounds. This now concludes the first week of the episode and we continue straight away with the next game, and we travel to Charlotte for this one in a matchup against the Hornets. The Hornets are currently the 6th seed in the East, although they are still far away from having locked down a playoff spot. The game itself then, for the Legionnaires, never really in danger. Charlotte had a small 4th quarter comeback, but it was by far not enough to turn things around. For the 3rd straight time, the Legionnaires also shot 30 or more free throws, finishing this game making 28 of their 33 attempts. But also once again, they outshot and out-rebounded their opponents, leading to a double-digit victory on the road, 122 to 111. Shooting guard Josh Richardson reclaimed the scoring throne in this one. He shot a pretty impressive 12 of 17 from the field to finish with 30 points. Andre Flanders also once again up there in double digits. He had 18 points, although his shooting performance could have been a bit better. Mitch Dennis then finished the game with 16 points, showing that apart from shooting the 3-ball, he's also very good at getting to the free throw line, where he made all 7 of his attempts. 3 more guys scored in double figures tonight, and those would be Rodney Hood, Scalabrine, and Bryce Johnson, but I also want to give a quick mention to Mohamed Bamba, who finished the game with a team-high 15 rebounds. We have now officially entered the second half of the month of March, and just 5 days after a previous matchup, we once again face the Indiana Pacers. And this game was incredibly close up until the buzzer, and Indiana had a chance to tie it with only a few seconds left. However, Colin Sexton's drive to the basket gets rejected by Mohamed Bamba, who saves the game for the Legionnaires and gives them their 5th victory in a row. Stats-wise, it shows that the Legionnaires were much more efficient shooting from the field, while Indiana completely obliterated them from deep, making 16 3-pointers and shooting almost 50% from beyond the arc. Indiana also had a few more free throws, but the Legionnaires were the more dominant team on the glass, and so in the end all of that kind of evened out, and the Legionnaires sneak away with a narrow 2-point victory. Scoring-wise, the only surprise is the absence of Josh Richardson in the top scoring list. He didn't really have a good game tonight, but his teammates stepped up instead. Our 2 top scorers both came off the bench tonight. Andre Flanders finished with 19 points and Bryce Johnson with 17. Rodney Hood and Mo Bamba both finished with 13, and Bamba also once again double-doubles with 12 rebounds. Tyler Ulis then with 12 points and 4 assists, the last guy to score in double figures for us. And from one rematch we move on to another. We once again return to Charlotte to face the Hornets one more time. And this game, just like the previous one, was an easy win for us. Josh Richardson also produced this absolute murder on Thomas Robinson, but the team as a whole was just incredibly efficient tonight. We shot 55% from the field, 58% from deep, and also once again dominated on the glass. The end result then almost identical to the last time the two teams faced each other. This time the Legionnaires win by 13, 124 to 111. Richardson then not only produced the dunk of the night, but was also good enough for 27 points, leading all scorers with a very efficient shooting performance. His backup Andre Flanders wasn't too shabby either. He finished the game with 23, although not quite reaching the efficiency of Richardson. Rodney Hood once again added reliable double-digit scoring as well. He made 4 3-pointers on his way to 16 points. Tyler Ulis then had a double-double with 15 points and 11 assists, and he also added 3 steals. Mitch Dennis finished the game with 12 points, and all of those came from behind the 3-point line. And in this game I also experimented a bit with him at the power forward, using him in a 6'8 frame as a stretch 4, and I have to say I really liked it. The amount of open shots he gets from deep with big men helping out or being too slow to close out is great, and I could honestly see him in that role going forward. So, last matchup in a busy 4-game week now against the New York Knicks, and this one is fairly interesting if we have a look at the draft pick situation. Because as a part of the Rashad Vaughn trade, we have the rights to New York's first-round pick this year. However, we only receive the pick if it falls outside of the lottery. If the pick ends up being a lottery pick, then it remains in New York, and we get next year's first-rounder instead. And whether or not that pick ends up being a lottery pick is actually very much up in the air at the moment, as New York is sitting right on the edge, currently the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. So in theory, a win here could actually hurt us as far as the pick goes, because it increases the chances of New York actually ending up in the lottery. Now, the whole situation isn't helped by the fact that New York is also missing Kristaps Porzingis at the moment, who will sit out with an injury for at least a few more games. Now, of course, the pick implications should not affect how we go into the game, although I have to admit we certainly played like they did. Tyler Ulis and Rodney Hood fouled out after 17 and 21 minutes respectively. Bryce Johnson would follow after 24, and despite all that we were still able to play a single-digit game for the most part. Yes, the Legionnaires were trailing for the majority of the game, but they managed to stay within striking distance. In the fourth quarter then, Mitch Dennis caught fire and hit 3 consecutive 3-pointers. However, that still wasn't enough to get the win here tonight. All in all, it just wasn't meant to be. The Legionnaires' leading scorer tonight was Andre Flanders, who had 24 points, and who played heavy minutes thanks to the early absence of Rodney Hood. Richardson finished the game with 19, only missing 1 shot from the field. Labissiere had 17 points and 7 rebounds, and despite fouling out early, Rodney Hood still managed to get up to 13. So the 6-game win streak comes to an end, but we have another weak opponent coming up. With the Atlanta Hawks, who are currently the 13th seed in the Eastern Conference, the Legionnaires now have a good chance to bounce back. And playing Atlanta always presents us with an interesting matchup of DeAndre Ayton versus Mohamed Bamba, and tonight Atlanta's big man unfortunately had the upper hand. Atlanta comfortably led this game from start to finish and ultimately came away with a 12-point victory. Ayton had a fantastic stat line tonight with 19 points, 16 rebounds and 4 blocks, while on our side one of the better stat lines unsurprisingly once again belonged to Josh Richardson, who finished the game with 22 points, shooting 8 of 11 from the field. Scan Labissiere had a nice double-double with 19 points and 10 rebounds, Andre Flanders scored his way up to 18 points, and Mohamed Bamba himself wasn't all that bad either. He finished the game with 11 points, 8 rebounds and 4 rejections. So, we're down 71 games on the season, and we're now facing the leaders of the Eastern Conference, the Cleveland Cavaliers. This year the Cavaliers are definitely prime candidates to win the championship, but considering their incredible record, they might already be coasting along. Speaking of records, with the season slowly winding down, 2 more teams have clinched a playoff spot. The Philadelphia 76ers become the second team in the East to secure a trip to round 1, while the Houston Rockets clinch as the first seed in the West. Against the first seed in the East, then we had a pretty close first half, and then in half number 2 the Legionnaires actually pulled away. Cleveland committed a lot of turnovers in that second half, and even though they had a ton of free throw attempts in that half as well, that couldn't save them. The Legionnaires then ultimately win by 16, once again showing that they are definitely a force to be reckoned with. A force to be reckoned with that is also shooting guard Josh Richardson, who once again had a tremendous scoring night, finishing the game shooting 10 of 16 from the field for 31 points. Bryce Johnson was equally impressive with his shooting percentage, but only scored 16, while Andre Flanders came in third with 13. Tyler Ulis, Rodney Hood and a rare appearance by Rajon Rondo complete the list of double-digit scorers, but Mohamed Bamba's performance also deserves a quick mention here. He finished just shy of a double-double with 8 points, 9 rebounds and once again with 4 blocks. And from one big matchup we move on straight to the next one. This time we host the first seed in the Western Conference, the Houston Rockets. And this was, without exaggeration, a fantastic game, close from start to finish, a lot of back and forth, great scoring performances on both sides, in the end resulting in a win for Houston, but also in a new franchise record for Louisville. And that record is the one for most points scored in a single game, and Josh Richardson surpassed the benchmark set by Mohamed Bamba earlier this season. He finished the game with 45 points in only 32 minutes, and even though we didn't get the win here tonight, his performance goes into the record books. Our big man Labissiere and Bamba were the only other 2 players scoring in double figures tonight, Labissiere with 12 points and 8 rebounds and Mohamed Bamba with 10 and 6. Tyler Ulis then barely missed a double-double and finished the game with 9 points and 10 assists. And so here we are, heading into the last game of March. And waiting for us for the third straight time in 3 weeks are the Charlotte Hornets. Now, a win here against the Hornets could actually go a long way towards securing a playoff spot for the Legionnaires. The Hornets are currently the 9th seed in the East with only 10 games left to play. That means at best they are able to win 46 games this year, while the Legionnaires are already up at 44. So if I'm not completely mistaken, if we win here and add another victory to our record, then we would go up to 45, the same amount of wins the Hornets could then theoretically reach. Having already won most of our games against them this year, we would also own the tiebreaker, so unless I'm forgetting about anything here, if we win this game, we are in the playoffs. And I would say that is a perfect cliffhanger to make the cut in today's episode. I will quickly give you another chance to watch our player stats this year. If you're interested in that, you can go ahead and pause the video, or you can simply wait a few seconds. Alright, here we are, 73 games are played and a big game is coming up. We only have 9 games left in the regular season, so we will in all likelihood complete it next episode, and then we'll also see whether or not the Legionnaires end up in the playoffs, and if yes, who their first round opponent will be. Until then, as always, leave a like if you enjoyed the episode, and of course if you haven't subscribed already, then go ahead and feel free to do so. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!